Okay, so welcome. We're here from the Connecticut Council of Language Teachers to talk about distance learning. I'm here from COLT as the president-elect, and my name is Amanda Robustelli-Price from Enfield Public Schools. Now on to you, Leah.
Hi, my name is Leah Grenier Kennedy, and I'm the CT COLT president coming to you from Stonington Public Schools, and thrilled to be doing a remote learning webinar series for members. Let me pass it to Mei-Ching Cheng.
Hi, my name is Mei-Ching Cheng. I am from Glastonbury Public Schools. I am City COLT's Teacher of the Year this year.
And my name is Jimmy Wildman. I am the immediate past president of COLT, and I work in Glastonbury, Connecticut.
All right, great. So today for our agenda, first we have our introductions. We'll go with our presenter, Mei-Ching Cheng, followed by Leah Grenier Kennedy, and then we will wrap everything up. For our goals today, we like to provide supports for language teachers who are working in a distance learning environment, identify some resources that may be helpful during distance learning, and also ultimately to unite many languages through one voice. Today, we have two facilitators. As we said at the beginning, it's Amanda and Jimmy from COLT, and we're so excited here to really share this important information with you today. We'd like to begin with our first presenter, Mei-Ching Cheng from Glastonbury Public Schools, who's going to share some strategies for distance learning. Go ahead, Mei-Ching.
Okay. All right. So the distance learning in our district, because we are very lucky that we have a 1-to-1 iPad ratio with our students. So even before the situation started, we already use a lot of online resources in class and after school. So I continue to use the Google Classroom that I post their lessons and assignments. And then there were some issues like if I record in Google Slide, the kids can't hear it. So I end up using the Screencastify to make videos of my lessons using the PowerPoint. And so they get to hear it. And then each day we have a little assignment for them. So for my lessons, I try to do like all different skills. Like I do reading, listening, speaking, and then speaking is presentational. And then, or sometimes I have them do writing, which is typing instead. And because the assignment is also used for attendance in our district. So I have a little bit, and I have them do a little bit every day. So this way, I could also check their progress every day.
Mei-Ching, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you're planning your lessons, how long are you planning those lessons for each day?
You mean how long do I plan them, or how long do they have to do it?
How long are students expected to work each day?
In my class, I think our goal is less than 25 minutes. But usually when I record a video, I try to keep that in mind. Usually my video is 5 to 7 minutes long, usually. That involve the review and the new lesson. And then their assignment will only take them, it depends. If it's a project, it take maybe 10. But if it's just a daily check-in to make sure it'll check for their understanding, that you'll only take 2 to 3 minutes. So about 10 minutes each day, I say.
Great, thank you.
And then so the ways that I provide my content, I continue to use the Google Classroom. So in there, I use Google Slide for my lessons. I videotape it into the Screencastify videos so they could listen to it. I also use Google Meet. I actually just started this week, and I group students in pairs so they could do interpersonal speaking. I send them their prompts 2 minutes before the meet. So they could read it, but they can't write out the answers for themselves. So I was trying to use that as my interpersonal speaking. And then I also use Padlet.com a lot. Later, there is a couple samples on it. And in the next slide, here's some of the samples. I used the Screencastify and also the Padlet for the student. Padlet is kind of like a bulletin board. The students could post what they write, and then other students could see it, and then I have them respond to it. And also, by the way, Screencastify has sent out codes that all teachers could go on for free. All right, and then For assignment, so I put out one sample in here, which is what I did for Padlet.com. I had my Chinese 5. That's a 5th year student in Chinese to do a project. And then the goal is the students learn how to describe a person, a place, or a thing. So I break them apart because the e-learning, I break them apart more than what I usually would do because I lost that 48 minutes with them every single day. So so I gave them 3 days to create a profile for a robot that they have because of their age. Some students don't want to create their own profile. So I have them create one for a robot. And then, so day 4, they had to post a profile on a Padlet. And then day 5, and then they have to look at other people's posts and find one that is good for their robot. You know, they could be friends. And then once they find it, they have to write a response to that profile on the same page to asking that the other robot if they could meet, you know, pretty much is setting up an appointment. And then day 6, they would check the response that they got from other robots. And then now they have to decide, oh, that robot asked if I want to go to Barnes and Noble because we both like books. We both like to read books. What do I want to do? Do I want to say, yeah, this is the reason? Do I want to say, no, this is the reason? And then the final product for me is they will create an ebook about their robot and how they make a new friend or how they decide not to have this robot as a friend. So I did all these on the Padlet other than the final product, which they will have to create an ebook.
Hey, Kate, can I, sorry.
I just want to say how much I like that you're engaging students with those interpersonal conversations and writing and speaking online. I think it's a great way to really encourage those interactions, and I love hearing your ideas. Go ahead,
and
Leah.
I'm sorry, they also, so this way is to keep them to have some interactions with other students and also to see what others write, not just their own writing.
I think this is terrific. I love the fact that you're focusing on all the skills and all the modes, Mei Ching. I'm just wondering, is this a project that you just built or is this one that you modified so that you could bring a project that you'd already had online?
This one was modified because in the past when I do it, they would actually create a paper book so we could put it in the classroom and then we could have kids read them and at a time that I want them to. But because of the e-learning, everything had to be online. So it's not handwriting. Some kids like to hand draw their pictures, but because of the ebook now it's all they go online, search the pictures. So I do have to modify it a little bit from my
Well,
previous
they're great
projects.
modifications. It keeps it authentic and interesting. So yeah.
All right. And then the authentic materials, now I pretty much have to depend on the internet, to get the readings, the pictures. And then I just finished a transportation unit with my Chinese too. So I actually asked them to design a route from their house in Glastonbury to a hotel in Beijing, China. What kind of transportation would they use? What is a reasonable one? What will work? So, we try to bring the authentic resources into their learning. But I think at this time, because I can't show them a restaurant menu, I cannot show them a map in class. So I feel like I'm depending on internet a lot recently. And then how do I monitor student progress? So every day they have an assignment and they have to complete their assignment and then turn it into Google Classroom. So I check it every day and then I give them the comment, like if it's correct, if it's not correct, what they need, what the problem was. And then I ask them to edit it next day and then send it back to me, because this is how I check for their understanding. So I need them to know which part was not correct, and I need them to show me they know how to do the correct one. And I also use that as our attendance. And then yesterday and today when I do Google Meet, it's really nice to see my students, to really see their face, like to see how they are, and they are happy to see each other too. And my 6th grader was so excited that they get to see each other finally, not just typing to each other. All right, so my takeaway, I really want to say this, that we're in this together, because I still remember the first week I was so overwhelmed. I am not a tech savvy person. So even though I use Google Cloud, I used technology before, but not like now I have to totally depend on the technology. The first week I see so many resources, online learning resources, and I was so overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't know this. This looks good, but I don't know this. I got to go in to learn this. So I was so overwhelmed, and it created a lot of stress for me until I finally realized I just have to pick one platform that worked for me, that I could put my student work on, pick one site or resources that works for me, and I start from there. So I just want everybody to know, it's normal to feel overwhelmed. I think I'm normal. And thanks to my department and my teacher friends, I got a lot of support from them. When I post a problem I have, there's always someone who told me, you could do this, you could do that. So it's okay to lean on each other for support. We're all here to support each other. And now we really see how important it is to teach students the language in person. I really see that the e-learning really cannot replace what we do in class with our kids.
Thank you, Mei Ching, for sharing these wonderful ideas. And I have a
Yeah.
number that I'd like to take and use with my own students. And I really like your advice about making sure that we support each other during this time. So well, we truly appreciate you taking your time to be with us today.
And I think it's
Thanks for
important
having me.
I think it's important to also recognize that, Mei Ching, you're 100% right. Teachers shouldn't feel as though they need to find 100 new things to do during this distance learning. Pick one and focus on it. And then when you're feeling comfortable, go ahead and reach out, and then maybe is the time to pick a second one to learn something about.
All right. Thank you, Mei Ching.
Thank you.
So we started with our first presenter, Mei Ching Chang, and now we're moving on to our second presenter, Leah Grainer Kennedy, who looks like she's coming to us from Paris, but is in fact in Stonington, Connecticut. All right, Leah, I can't wait to hear the strategies that you're using with your students today.
All right, well, thank you. I am switching out the virtual background each time because it keeps it real and makes it a little bit more exciting. But I do admit to having the dog in many of the class photos. So the dog is indeed on this screen. As we proceed into this new era of teaching online, I find that we're really leaning on each other. This whole sense of unity through community has really resonated with me. And I just feel like we are with the best group of teachers. Every time I go online, I'm inundated by the number of resources. So I feel like I'm getting a lot of resources for my classes. The two pictures on the right are the pictures of our French Honor Society and Spanish Honor Society, and both inductions were just missed last week. So I have to start wrapping my brain around how to do those virtual inductions as well, because we really want to make sure that we honor all the different ways that we bring these students together. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about distance learning in Stonington Public Schools. And as you can see at the bottom left here, we just had our weekly PLC right before getting on this call. So that those are the members of the World Language team in Stonington Public Schools, at the high school at least. And you'll see with the notes I put in here, we're doing a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. But the district has really been good about saying we have to stop and make sure that we're focusing on the prioritized curriculum. So that's why I was asking Mei Ching about the project that she was creating. You know, she obviously is taking something that was already in the curriculum and then modifying it. So we're doing a lot of the same work in Stonington as well. People have been talking about questions with grading, and that is always the trick. How do we get all the kids access and get them online? We are asked to put at least one grade per week in Power School, and the total distance learning time per day is 3.5 to 4 hours. So the expectation is that teachers are online from 8 to 3 every day, and quickly accessible to the students as the day goes on. But we did chunk out the day for the different content areas so that we weren't stepping on other departments' toes. So when we're thinking about ways that we're going to provide the content, I think Jimmy's point and Mei Ching's is right on. Like, we don't want to change too much of what we're doing, and we don't want to start taking on a million new things. I was already comfortable with Google Classroom as a platform. That is something that we're using in our district. Already comfortable with Zoom, and had a lot of resources on Pinterest already. So it was just a matter of kind of shifting some of that. But as you can see here, we did do our first class in Zoom, so you can see the French class, and everything was posted to Google Classroom, including the links to get online, so that we could talk about our new daily routine, the quarantine daily routine, and be able to share out with some of those things. The thing that is exciting about Zoom, if you are going to be one of the districts that is signing up for the free account, is that you can go into breakout rooms. So within the breakout rooms, you can post a question and have them have a conversation, and then go into each room and ask somebody to share out, which I thought was a great way for us to be able to leverage the interpersonal mode. Here is the Spanish class, and you can see that to the left is the full group, and to the right is one of the rooms. So you can go in and record individually in those rooms, but I did include a video, which is only 3 minutes, super intuitive and very easy to do. So if you are already feeling somewhat comfortable with Zoom, I would definitely encourage you to do that, because you can type in the message and broadcast out the interpersonal prompt to all. And so in the case of Mei Ching's thing, she could say, okay, you have 2 minutes to think about this, but they won't have time to do a planned write-up. They can just go right into the interpersonal mode. I think that one of the challenges for us is, how can we get enough interpersonal opportunities for our students? And that is really, whether we're going to be doing it in Hangouts or Zoom or in other platforms, I think that is really going to be our challenge.
Leah, quick
Sure.
question for you. How are you finding your students doing with maintaining the use of the target language? Can you just talk about that? Like, what support you're giving students, or how you're managing your expectations, and what you're finding with your students and the target language use?
So we just started on Monday. So we did have that 2-week hiatus and launched everything on Monday. And it was very funny, because as they came into the Zoom room, all of a sudden they said, "Ay, Dios mío," and they'd say, "Oh my goodness, like I have to speak in Spanish." So they had that same look of a long vacation going right into the turn. And we entered into the Zoom room in the same way that we would the classroom. We just went straight into the target language. And we're starting a book, La Casa en Mango Street, in one class, and we're in the middle of a unit with the French class. So there's definitely a sense of, okay, here we go again. So I think we do have to have a little bit of patience as we ramp back up, because some other districts might not be going online for another week or two, in which case they may have had a hiatus starting on March 13th all the way to, say, April 13th. So there will be some need for scaffolding for sure. So here's an activity we were looking at for the daily routine. This is a UNICEF song. It's a video, and there's an article about it. So you can see, I just did a screenshot of the video down below. This is a band from Togo, and they're talking about, you can see in the bottom picture, the importance of washing your hands. And there's no running water at these schools. But it talks about hygiene at a time when we're obviously all challenged with that. And there were so many links to additional resources on the UNICEF site. So I definitely encourage people to look in the target language. This article happens to be in French, and but you can link onto any of these. All these links are live. So when you go into the Google Slides afterwards, you will have access to all of it. But basically taking these authentic resources and making them things that will engage the students. The kids of all ages find the song very easy to sing along to. So tomorrow in class, they will be making comments about the article, making comments about the music, and being able to do, as you can see, reading, listening, presentational writing, and then I will have interpersonal prompts that are going to be on a Padlet that they will be able to look at the questions and then break out into rooms. So, but I think that Mei Ching and I did not coordinate on this beforehand, but really the goal for us is to keep teaching and assessing all modes as possible. So I specifically put as possible because I don't want to make ourselves crazy. We're all in this together. We're all taking this huge leap, and I cannot believe the amount of bravery and risk taking that I'm seeing amongst all of my colleagues. And just an incredible amount of sharing. I think everybody's getting inundated with, it's almost too many resources now because everybody wants to help each other. But to the extent that we can get in and out of all three modes, I do find that to be the challenge, but the thing that is going to be really important for us. One of the things that we have been working on as a board is trying to leverage authentic resources. So I just want to draw everybody's attention to the website. And if you go to the ctcolt.org website and click on resources, you will see that the first one down is distance learning. And what we're trying to do is to populate these with authentic resources. We all know that there are plenty of worksheets out there and plenty of disconnected ideas for students to do. And as I'm looking at what my own children are doing and seeing what my neighbors' kids are doing for work, I'm so impressed when I see these units coming together, like Mei Ching's idea with the robot. We want to make sure that we're doing things that are really planned in the way that we would walk students through a unit in real in our classroom in real time, but we also want to make sure that we're not just scouring the internet and finding random resources. We want to look for texts and resources that address the essential question of our unit. And we do not want to look for texts that have specific vocabulary or structures. So I did put in here Pinterest and going into Leslie Gran or Laura Terrell's site because they have so many boards that are directed towards a specific essential question, which I think is really clear that we want to do. And I did also put in the Center for Open Educational Resources, CORAL, because they have so many different resources in all different languages. United Nations and Huffington Post, Duzella. There are a variety of resources, but I just wanted to draw your attention that these are all on the website. And to the extent possible, if we can do authentic work, it will prepare these kids for real world proficiency. Feedback. Okay, so feedback is always our challenge, and Mei Ching talked about giving feedback right on the Google Docs, and you can see in my slide down here, I highlighted in blue. You can see where I went in and made revisions. On the left, you can see where I deleted things, where I replaced things. So that is really easy to do, and I think many of us are familiar with having students submit Google Docs in that way. Padlet is the orange square, and that was also used by Mei Ching. So you post a question up at the top. There are different types of Padlet that you could set up, but all of the Padlets are free. And then the student can reply to the question that's at the top, or the student can go ahead and be able to make a comment to somebody else or ask a question to somebody else. Because I'm trying to get them to not only narrate, but ask and answer questions. And then we spoke a little bit about breakout rooms. Going into the breakout rooms allows me to jump quickly into each of the groups. So if there are 5 groups, each with 3 students, you can set the number that you like. You could broadcast an announcement, typing in the messages, saying, I'm going to be coming to your room to have one person share out. And so you could give feedback to each of those individual groups based on what they share out in the breakout room. And then finally, Google Forms, using a variety of the different question types to be able to give the students feedback that way. So I'd be happy to take questions, but I just want to end with saying that I think that we are in a time right now where we can show the importance of how languages unite us. And as I see people coming together, helping each other in different cities and communities, translating things to make sure that important information is readily available to all members of the community, this is a real opportunity for us to lead with languages and show the importance that that our content area brings to students in a very real way. So if I can be of any help, feel free to send me an email, and we will be sure to post all these resources.
Leah, thanks for that wonderful information. I do have one question for you. As you were talking about the Zoom breakout rooms, is there a way that we can record those individual rooms? Because it doesn't sound like it's possible for us as the teacher to be in all of the rooms at one time. So is there a way that we could record that and then go back and see it afterwards?
So the recording will take place on whatever screen the teacher is in. So if you go ahead and record, you could systematically jump from room 1 to room 2 to room 3 to room 4 and give the others another task to continue with. So you could post 4 prompts, and while they're sharing out with prompt 1 to you, the second group is sharing out with prompt 2, and as you cycle through it. So that would be a way to capture it. Or you could have a live standing meeting and then have them come in at different times. But you can't have them go in. Not that I've seen yet.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, Leah, for sharing the wonderful ideas. And I think what's interesting, I imagine that our viewers will feel the same way. My school, for example, is a Microsoft school. And so we have many similar tools, but they're not exactly the same. And so we're currently using Teams, or we'll use Microsoft Forms, but there are a variety of tools available that can meet similar goals in different schools.
And you also have access to Discord and Slack, which will be similar, and I'm sure that you can do the recording in there. The other thing that I don't know about in Teams, but you can easily record and save the chat. So this chat text from the beginning of the recording all the way through the end can be saved to your desktop. And so if you want to put in hyperlinks for students to get to resources you want them to see, or if you just want to look at their questions and make sure that you've responded and given the accurate feedback to every student, that would be another way to provide feedback. That is not in Google Hangouts, but it is in Zoom.
Great. And one of the things that I'm so impressed with both Leah and Mei Ching is how you're providing feedback to your students. I really feel like it's personalized and meaningful and focused on communication. And I think we'll take many of these lessons with us beyond distance learning. I think it's pushing all of us to use technology more than we might have, and is teaching us really valuable lessons about the power that technology can have in developing proficiency. Great.
And I just want to stop and thank Amanda and Jimmy, because it's great to have facilitators on these 3 webinars. This will be a series for elementary, middle school, and high school. And having gone through all 3 of the presentations, I can tell you that I have picked up great strategies for my high school students from all 3 of the webinars. So I would definitely encourage people to consider watching the others as well, because you'll find some other resources that may resonate with you.
All right, great. And on our next slide, we do have the contact information for the facilitators and the presenters. And it's also important to note that the link to the Google Slides will be posted, and the tiny URL is there, tinyurl.com/CTCOLT HS videocast. And as Leah mentioned earlier, within that videocast, there will be, or excuse me, in the Google Slides, all the links will be live. So you'll be able to click into specific resources shared within these presentations. And we'd like to leave you by sharing this message that together we are many languages, but we are one voice for our students, and that together we can really connect the world, and how important our profession is during this time. Okay.
We'd like to thank both Leah and Mei Ching for joining us today and sharing all of these great resources, and continue with the amazing work that you're both doing. I know all of our viewers are thankful for your information that you did share today. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you both.
Thank you for having me.